Hi y'all, Kraken Latte here. It's that time again where I bring you my tips, facts, or experience that you may or may not find helpful. With the new expansion comes new content, new collectibles, and a new level range. And of course, that means it's also time to try new classes or dust off some neglected alts and skyride through legacy content to get caught up. Just like in my previous leveling guides, I'm going to go over this expansion's new route step by step so that you know exactly what to do. Let's take a look at a bit of prep we need to do first before we dig into the route itself. First, as a quick disclaimer, this guide is not for players who are totally new to the game or haven't played even in the last few years. This guide relies on items and zones that new players will not have access to. You are considered a veteran by Blizzard if you've leveled at least one character to max to unlock Chromie time, and have completed the main campaign of the 4 leveling zones in the Dragon Isles to unlock Adventure Mode there. If you've done all that, it means you can then use the route in this guide. Second, this guide makes use of heirlooms, and while not technically required, I do highly recommend upgrading your heirlooms to level 70 because it will make things way easier on you. Your heirlooms will almost always be higher in item level than any quest gear you get, and this will help curb difficulty spikes, thus increasing your leveling speed. Third, some useful items that you might want. I recommend getting at least 4 bags with 30 or more slots in each to help with the influx of trash and gear that you're about to get. I also recommend getting the comfortable Rider's Barding mount equipment. That's a mouthful. This prevents you from getting dazed and dismounted from mobs, and yes, it even works with your skywriting mounts, so it's a must-have for me. Fourthly, like I just mentioned, this guide also makes use of skywriting, which is the newly rebranded dragon riding usable on most flying mounts, and you can use it right at level 10. Steady Flight, the new name for regular flight, is learned at level 20, in case you prefer that. Both work just fine. And as a last bit of prep, I use 3 add-ons for leveling: TomTom, Help Me Play, and Silver Dragon. TomTom lets you use the waypoints in-game, which we will be using. Help Me Play has a boatload of features, including Quest Auto-Accept, Quest Auto-Turn-In, and cinematic skips, and a lot more. And Silver Dragon helps you see rares on your maps, which are used in this guide. One more important thing you need to know before we get started. This guide was made without using the new Warband feature, Mentored Leveling. That is a permanent extra 5% experience bonus buff that stacks up to 5 times for a total of 25%, based on how many level 80 characters you have. There's even achievements for it, so you'll know if you have it or not. It's 5% per level 80, up to 5 level 80s, to get that full 25%. That said, this guide does make use of the 10% War Mode buff because it's readily available to anyone at level 20 and higher. So make sure to turn that on in Stormwind, Orgrimmar, or Val'sharah right as you hit level 20 in the first zone during this guide. You can still easily follow this route without it, just keep in mind your results will be a little bit different. So let's dig into the route. First up, Exile's Reach. If you're starting as an allied race, a base race Death Knight, an Evoker, or a Demon Hunter, that means you can skip this step because you either start right at level 10, or you're forced to do your hero class intro. I've added timestamps to this guide for all of you lovely viewers, so just skip to the next section if you don't need this part. For all of you who are starting as level 1 base races, Exile's Reach is your go-to. You can select this in the very beginning, right after you've created your new character. This zone is extremely straightforward, and all you need to do is follow the quest chain. So, put on your heirlooms, get that heirloom bike on your bar if you have it, and make sure you do everything, including the 2 optional quests of the Light Elemental and the Elite Bear, because once you leave, you can't return. This all should only take you about 30 minutes. You will leave at level 10, but more specifically, you'll be part way into the next level, which is a nice little boost that you'll get over the allied race characters. Once you've completed Exile's Reach and you stand at the city gates, make sure you skip the tour. With all your class intro or Exile's Reach stuff taken care of, everyone can tune back into this part. Now, head over to Chromie near the embassy in Stormwind or Orgrimmar and set your time to Legion. As a tip, any of these options will set all non-current expansion zones to scale to 70, regardless of where you choose to level. But in our case, we want Legion because we will make good use of that Dalaran Hearthstone, and Legion is exactly where we are starting. So turn in that quest she just gave you, skip the Legion intro, delete that Hearthstone since you'll now have it as a toy, and let's get started. So, once in Dalaran, if you're using Skyriding, you can just fly your merry self over to Lorlathil in Val'sharah and get started. If you refuse to use Skyriding, and since Steady Flight is not learned until level 20, you can just take the flight point there instead, as the flight points are now warbound, meaning that they are learned account-wide. If you don't yet have that flight point, do not use the scouting maps to learn it on your leveling alt. They will prevent you from gaining exploration experience, and that will severely hurt your results. So go use those on a max level character if you have those. If you don't want to or can't do either of those, you can also use a Goblin Glider to reach Val'sharah if you prefer that instead, which you can easily buy those on the auction house, just be prepared for a little bit of running on the ground as well. And as a reminder, at some point during this zone you will hit level 20. That point will be different for everyone based on your XP buffs and some other factors, so pay attention to when you do. Then, when you do, set your Hearthstone to the nearest place that you are in Val'sharah, and then you can just use your Dalaran Hearth to head back to Stormwind or Orgrimmar, turn on War Mode while there, then use your regular Hearth to get back to where you were questing. Easy peasy. Once there, talk to Malfurion and begin the Val'sharah quests. This zone is only semi-linear and has small clusters between the main storyline that can be done in various orders. I like to have a certain order though, so here's the route I like to take. First, here's a look of the route as a whole. You can screenshot this if you like, but I'll walk you through it as well. Once you get the 3 Archdruid quests, we're going to fly up to the Archdruid of Lore and do those first. This is where you'll run into the first bonus objective as well. Legion's bonus objectives, unlike all the other expansions so far, intersect directly with the quests, and you'll be partly doing them anyways just by questing there. So, you're going to want to do them all as you come across them. They're far easier than the other expansions in my opinion, and take very little time to do. With the Archdruid of Lore quests and the Harpy bonus objective done, now we'll fly down to the Archdruid of the Claw. Do all of those there. With those done, we're taking a detour before we head to the Archdruid of the Vale. In the Lunar Wing Shallows, there is a bonus objective with all those nasty little sprites, as well as a few quests. Do all of those. Then, we're going to head down to the Lost Light Grotto. It's not marked very clear on the map, so I remember where it is by these little ridges here on the southern road. They look like a little dragon head to me. There's a moonwell there and some quests. So do all those and make sure to pick up the one from the Melting Dryad down inside, as well as looting all the boomkin for an additional drop quest. When that area is done, now fly over to Grizzleweald. This area sits under the V in the Vale on the eastern side of the map. Pick up the quests from the Furbolg as well as the Grizzlecomb and then do all of that. Now we'll go to the Archdruid of the Claw. It gets a lot more linear from here. Do all of those as well as the bonus objective, and then head toward the campaign quest. First, before you return to the Grove, there's one last little stop we need to make. The Dryad before the Grove of Cenarius offers a single quest on the road, Wisp in the Willows. Make sure to do that first before continuing the campaign, that way you leave the zone with the proper amount of XP. Fast forwarding to when you reach Andutala after the Harpies area in Shadowfen, you'll be following Tyrande. This is still linear, but I have a couple tricks for you. The first time she asks you to follow her on Malfurion's trail, just keep going past poor Eleuthir here and right into a bonus objective. You can do the whole thing while she's catching up. Don't worry, it still counts even though you're good distance from her. Then come back and do the next chain of quests. You can do the same thing again after you turn in the back quest, then where she wants you to follow her again. You can start the bonus objective while waiting for her. Once she wants you to find Malfurion though, poke him and then keep clicking on things for the bonus objective along the way to each fake Malfurion. Make sure you finish the bonus objective before you turn in the quest at the end, because she's going to take off with you. After putting poor Ysera out of her misery, grab the quest from the dead human on the road nearby and head down to Bradensbrook. Once in Bradensbrook, do all of the quests there and make sure to kill the NPC Leyland Swiftshadow near the burning house because she drops an extra quest. She's the ghost night elf riding on her lightsaber up and down the path. After which, the rest is all linear and you're almost done. Continue the campaign through to Blackrook, and make sure to do the bonus objective that overlaps in that area, and by the end, you should be at least 23, likely even more if you have any other buffs. So, congrats! We're done with Val'sharah. Now it's time to move on. We're done with Val'sharah, so we're going to fly to Highmountain. You'll see the Keepers of the Hammer quest on the map right next to the Sylvan Falls flight point. Flying there only takes a couple of minutes. Pick up that quest and then fly to Thunder Totem. Once you reach it, set your hearth here before heading down to talk to Mela. Then, just follow the quests like normal, doing any bonus objectives that show up along the way. It's fairly linear at this point. Once you are sent back to Thunder Totem, continue until you are given the quest to go talk with Ebonhorn and the other 2 tribes. Do Ebonhorn's quest first, and then I'm going to give you my route here, since this zone is similar to Val'sharah at this point, meaning that you can do a lot of the quests in any order. Here's what that route looks like on the map, but like before, I'll walk you through it. I'm gonna rocket through this, so hang on tight. First, buy the bottle of Air Spark, then go pick up the tears from the river, then fly up and do the quests at the bridge. Do all that, and then go get the Dark Shard Crystal. Now fly directly north and do the Harpy bonus objective in the Screeching Crag as well as the quest there. The Harpy for the quest also counts for the bonus objective when you kill her. With all those done, now fly over to the Skyhorn tribe. Turn in and pick up that next quest, but keep going past it and then down behind it. There's actually some Kobold quests you need to do. Do that whole chain. Now with all that done, get out of that rat hole and then fly over to the quest that you had picked up from Skyhorn and continue all that. Do the bonus objective with, is you guessed it, more harpies, and free all the eagles. Before continuing to Lasan though, dip left into the cave right before him and wait for a Tarn to phase in at the entrance. Do all of his quests, and then you can continue with Lasan. When you reach the end of Lasan's quests and kill the Harpy Queen, don't ride his eagle. Go past him and fly down to the Blood Totem tribe. Do all of those quests as well as yet another Harpy bonus objective, and follow that linear chain all the way through with Navarag and such. Make sure you do the bonus objective that pops up near where you need to kill Torok Blood Totem as well. I'm pointing all these out so you don't miss them. Torok also counts toward that bonus objective, so you can kill him at like 80 or 90, and the guys around him to finish it. Now it's time for the Stone Dark quests. Fly over and do all of those. After all of those, go back outside and fly north and down into the northernmost flight point in the marshes. There's still more quests here. Do everything here, including the bonus objective with, shockingly, not harpies. As a tip, when you get to the quest that turns you into Murky, you can actually exit him and just kill the clackers yourself. It's way faster in my opinion. When all of those are done, now it's time to hearth back to Thunder Totem. Once there, now fly down and talk to Lasan, and then Navarag, and then go inside. Don't do anything yet. Wait until both tribe quests complete. Lasan is really slow, so give him a minute to strut his stuff. When those complete themselves, now go in and do the Holden scenario. After that, turn in all your quests and pick up the new one nearby that wants you to collect drums. There's 2 drums down inside here, so get those and then go outside. Instead of finishing it though, fly northwest to Nissingwary. Do all the quests he has, and when you get to the one to talk to Addie to bring her along with you, don't forget to talk to her before you continue. Good grief, I can't count the times I just picked everything up, did all the quests, and forgot about her. Her quest requires you to kill everything even beyond what you need for the other quests to complete her training, so by the light please don't forget, or you'll have to basically do everything over again. When you turn that first wave of quests in, you'll get 3 more quests. 2 of them are marked as party quests, and you can actually skip those. The elites for that are quite beefy and take a good few minutes to kill even if you can solo them, so don't bother unless you really want to. The one to kill Irewing, though, is easy. Do that one and then pick up the next quest from Nessingwary. Now head back to Thunder Totem and continue the Drums quest. Also pick up the quest that wants you to return 3 moose. The only 2 quests I don't do here are the Bolas one and the one for the Old Lady Taran. Those 2 drive me nuts. Finish the Drums one and the Moose Rescue and then turn in the Moose Rescue. Then continue on to Ebonhorn. We'll turn in the Drums later. Now do that entire quest chain, including the bonus objective down inside Neltharian's lair, and then hearth back to Thunder Totem at the very end. Turn in that quest and the Drums, and then move on to Snowblind Mesa. Partway through the Snowblind Mesa quest, you'll come across worms, the big worms. When you get those killed, or almost killed, hop over to the ridge and do that quest you got from Nessingwary. Then after you do those 3, finish the other quests in that area and continue. The rest of this chain is linear with no special tips, so congrats! That's Highmountain. Now, use your Dalaran Hearthstone and go turn in that Tear of Elune from Val'sharah. It doesn't give much, but you might as well. And since you're here, you don't have to use your Hearthstone, you can just take the portal back to your main city. Now it's time for the Dragon Isles. We'll be questing in the Azure Span specifically for just under a couple of hours, and we'll gain over 20 levels while doing so. Impressive. There is a price to pay for that though, as this zone is pure chaos without guidance, because even when I toggle the Legacy and Warband quest options in-game, I can no longer see where the quests are located on the zone map, even with the help of add-ons I used to use. So, since I have a very specific route here for you to follow, and it is important that you follow it, I will be including waypoints for each of the unmarked spots, which are mostly in the first half of this route. These will be both on screen and in the description below. So let's get into it. To get to the Azure Span, you can go straight to the Dragon Isles through the Valdragon portal in Stormwind or Orgrimmar, and then fly yourself over to the beginning quest of Azure Span, which is at the very southern part of the Anaran Plains. Check out the map of the Anaran Plains and note the campaign quest in the south that's called To the Azure Span. That's where we're starting. So fly over there, pick it up, and follow it to Kiri's fishing spot. Once there, do all the quests in this little area except for the one, ironically, from Kiri. It's just a fishing quest, but it can take forever if you have bad RNG like me, so I prefer to skip it. When you're done with those, follow the campaign quest over to Camp Antonidas and do everything there. Do all the campaign quests and side quests that become available. If Nessingwary happens to be passing through, skip his quests. Not only is he not reliably available, his quests are spread out and tend to be difficult. Once you've done everything in Camp Antonidas and the campaign wants you to go find Kalik, put a pause on that. We're actually going to go do a bunch of side quests first. Fly up to the very northeast of Azure Span, that's where we're going first. Once there in the Winterpelt area, do all of the quests available at this spot. These won't take you very long. Once done with the Winterpelt, head south to the next quest called Prowling Predators. Do all of the quests in this little spot up through the final one where you will rescue all the tiny little Slyvern pups. Do know that you can use the quest item to stealth past the giants. Don't bother fighting them, they hurt a lot. After that, head east to take down a rare called the Summoned Destroyer. If you would like the waypoints for all of the rares we'll be killing in Azure Span, those are also linked in the description, but they will be easy to find and are a part of the route, so don't go doing them all at once. Now head back west and down to the quest Field Medic 101. Do all the quests in this little area as well as the bonus objective that will pop up during the part with the Snowhide Knolls. The end of the Field Medic chain here sends you up north a little ways to turn in a quest to Old Grimtusk. He'll give you a quest to do some fishing, cause what else do Tuskar do apparently? And yes, we do want to do this one, because he will give us 3 more quests after we turn that in. Don't go do those immediately though, we will do them toward the end of this zone's route. Just hang on to them. Now go southeast again to the next quest labeled the Ailing Apprentice. There's a good chunk of quests here and you'll need to do them all. Things here can hurt if you're a squishy class, so try to choose your battles carefully. You can also use the flamethrower on the spiders, which is pretty nice. After destroying the evil book and turning in that quest, that's it for this spot, so now we can head down to Camp Nowhere, which we have a couple of quests leading us to anyways. There are 2 parts to the Camp Nowhere quest chains, and we're doing them both. Start with the To the Ruins one and finish that one to its end. Then head to the Broken Traditions, Broken Values chain with more Furbolgs and do everything there until you're sent back to Camp Nowhere for the final turn-in. Now we're heading west to the Mammoths Matter quest, not far from the campaign to meet Kalik. You'll notice the 8-legged menace quest on the map, but we're skipping those because they just aren't worth the trouble. Hence the name, ironically. Once at the right quest, do all the quests for the Tuskar in this area, ending with the River Ride quest. If you're quick, you can net all of the fish before the first waterfall and just leave the vehicle, which will put you back where you started. Turn in that quest and move on to meeting Kalikos. We've made him wait long enough. Once you're up in the Azure Archives area, kill the Forgotten Creation rare up in a little alcove, and then do all the quests until they send you elsewhere. The mana wurns up at the top can really hurt, and the arcane blast coming from the portal thingies can knock you off the side, so be careful up there. After that, follow the campaign back to Camp Antonidas and do all the quests there yet again. There will be a couple of more side quests to do here, and you will get the next step in the campaign as well. This time, follow up the campaign immediately to find Brenna once you're done at the camp. When you pick up the quest from Brenna and Elder Poa, make sure to wait for her to stop talking so you can get all of her quests. Our next rare, Sharpfang, is also in this area, so go take out all the gnolls attacking the mage to spawn him. Do all the quests within this area, and there's not really anything we'll be skipping in this part, so just keep going until we reach this little break after this spot in the pace where we need to inspect some bodies. Don't bother to pick up the Falling Waterfalls quest from the Tuskar standing behind the group. We're not going to be doing any of the quests in the northwesternmost part of the map, and we're also skipping the wastewater cleanup quests down south. After turning in the quest from inspecting the bodies, which you can do while mounted by the way, kill the next rare, Cascade, and then do a quest we picked up from Grimtusk toward the start. All brawn, no brains. After doing his little circle drawing quest, which can be infuriating because the big circle likes to not work sometimes, continue on with the campaign. Do all of the quests in this area, including the bonus objective that pops up and our next rare nearby, Vakril. Kalik's image will pop in and help with some impressive damage in the bonus objective area. Thank you, Kalik. So you can pull a little more than you might be used to speed things up here. After cleaning up the rot from the ley line and trying to wrap your brain around how arcane energy can rot, carry on to Iskara. Since this is a renown hub and also the location of the soup event, it might be a bit chaotic and visually confusing. So just pick up every quest you see in the area before doing anything, and then we can go from there. We're not doing all the quests, so untrack Brackenhide Hollow, that's the dungeon quest, untrack the Wanted quest, untrack Fishing Aileron Sea Moth, and untrack Nook News. We're not doing any of those. Also, don't bother with the soup event if it's active, we're not here for that. Everything else, however, we are doing. Once you've done all the quests except the ones we've untracked in this area, and you've got the next quest to head back to the Azure Archives, turn and head north first, because we need to do the last quest from Grimtusk, a far Furbolg friend. Fly up to that Furbolg, do the quest he gives, and then continue all the way back to the Azure Archives. Try to get some good elevation as well so you don't run out of vigor, since it's quite a ways higher than sea level. The quests here are short and just activate a cutscene, and then want you to head to Ronin's Shield. But first, let's head to Old Grimtusk and bring that quest chain to a close. Help Grimtusk and friends take out Frostbite, who you may recognize from earlier in the zone, turn that quest in, and then move on to Ronin's Shield. Once we're done there, turn in the quest and do the one little side quest here to shoot some protos, and we're done with Azure Span. Yes, we are skipping the end of the campaign because it's just too much of a pain and gives a lot less XP than you'd think, so let's move on. And don't worry too much if you make mistakes. I know I said it's important to follow it, but this zone is a bit chaotic. It's gonna happen. I even had to go back for one of the bonus objective errors I missed during testing after checking my list here. It happens. So long as you did almost everything in the approximate order I gave you, you're probably fine. Once you've left Azure Span and you're back in Stormwind or Orgrimmar, the next zone we'll be going to is Felwood. Head over to the Cataclysm portals in your city and take the one to Mount Highjaw. Then, fly over to the southern end of Felwood from there. We'll get all the way to 70 here, and the time will vary depending on where your level is at when you start, due to all the different buffs we've talked about. But if it's at 62 like mine is here without any of those buffs, it should take you no more than 40 to 50 minutes. Technically, you can do these quests in any order, but I prefer treating this zone like it's linear because it keeps sending you northward after each quest cluster, so we're going to start down in the south. And the nice thing is it's honestly pretty straightforward and tame compared to the other 3 zones we just did. Pick up all the quests you find, follow the breadcrumbs that send you up to each area in the zone, and just do them until you hit 70. There is one tip I can give you, which is when you pick up the quests Crying Violet and Forces of Jadenar. Set your hearth there at the Innkeeper Tarn NPC right by the quest givers before you go do them. I know this sounds a bit weird, but this can save you some time and frustration because the quests inside the burrow shortly after you do the ones you just picked up here are all weird auto pickup type quests. I don't really like those. And every once in a while they glitch out and just aren't given to you, especially the very end one for Lord Banehollow. It's a bit infuriating. It's a pain in the butt to have to run all the way back out, pick up the quest at the outside NPCs, which luckily they'll have if it doesn't get given to you, and then to go all the way back in and kill like one guy. And sometimes the portal at the end that takes you back outside is supposed to be there, and that doesn't show up either. So the hearth is double useful. Luckily, this issue seems pretty rare, so hopefully you don't run into it. With all that said and done, you likely won't even finish the zone, and when you hit 70 will vary since, as a reminder, this guide was made without using the new mentored leveling experience buffs. So, without that buff, it took me 40 to 50 minutes to finish here, but you could be way faster, and who knows, with a full 25% mentored leveling buff, the 10% from War Mode, and maybe even 10% from Darkmoon Faire, you may not even need the zone at all. Would love to hear if that works out that way for you. And as a last note, since it's always better to be safe than sorry, on the super weird chance you finish this zone and you're not level 70, Winter Spring is right next door, and there's even a breadcrumb that you picked up at the start that sends you to it. It's a really good zone for leveling with a fairly straightforward path, so you can finish up there if you have to. Either way, congrats! You're now level 70, and you can continue on into the new War Within zones of Khaz-Elgar. Good luck! Did you know I stream on Twitch now? I do everything from transmog to leveling to gold making, and I'm live 5 days a week to chat with, so come hang out! And there we have it! If you think I've missed information, or you want to request I do a specific guide, let me know in the comments below. Even if I don't answer you, I just might add your idea to my list. As always, thank you so much for watching, and remember, it's never too latte.